Good day and welcome to this episode of our lecture on developmental psychology. Today we are going to take one of the theories of personality development. We are going to look at the theory of Erik Erickson Psychosocial theory of personality development. Introduction. Following the psychoanalytical theory of Sigmund Freud, Erikson developed the theory of psychosocial personality development. The theory stressed that any psychosocial phenomenon must be understood in terms of the interplay of biological, behavioral, experimental, and social factors. According to Erikson, the individual's personalities is under the influence of social forces from early childhood to adulthood. Every behavior is therefore a product of the individual's genetic makeup, that's the biological makeup, and the social history, that's the interaction of the person in question with the environment. He based personality development on epigenetic principle, which postulate personality of an individual to be ego-driven. He pointed that personality form as ego progresses through series of interrelated stages. Based on this epicentric principle, he proposed 8 stages that are sequential, interrelated, and universal. These stages are trust versus mistrust, that's birth to 1 year, autonomy versus shame and doubt, that is between 1 to 3 years, initiative versus shame and guilt, that's between 3 to 5 years, industry versus inferiority, that is between 6 to 11 years, identity versus confusion, that is between 12 to 18 years, intimacy versus isolation, that is young adulthood, generativity versus stagnation, that is middle adulthood, integrity versus despair, that is the old age. Let us start with stage 1, which is birth to 1 year. The experience here is in terms of childcare, maternal relationship, and genuine affection. The child at this stage needs to be gratified. This basic need consistently and continually. He needs to have some kind of experience to think of the world as a dependable and safe place for existence. Failure to get this, he have this kind of mistrust for the world. We now proceed to the next stage, which is the stage of autonomy versus shame and doubt. This is between 2 to 3 years. Coming next in experience after trust or mistrust is autonomy versus shame and doubt. This stage coincides with the preschool age. According to Erikson, children should be encouraged and allowed to do what they are capable of doing at their own pace and in their own way, but with judicial supervision by parents and teachers. The next stage is the stage of initiative versus guilt. This stage, which occurs between 4 to 5 years, is a very crucial stage in the development of children's initiative. The most important activity that the child will like to be involved at this stage are physical activity and using language to set their initiative. Children are too playful at this stage and can mimic words that can even do not necessarily, which they did not necessarily understand. It is at this stage we encourage the child to be able to explore himself. Failure to attain adequate care and adequate guide at this stage, the child have this kind of guilt. He has this kind of feelings of shame, and so it's not always advisable that you shout the child down. Many a times you encourage him, you tend to listen to what the child have to say. We'll now move on to the next stage, which is stage 6, which is the next stage, which is industry versus inferiority. It is a stage which the age is between 6 to 11. This stage represents the elementary and primary age in the life of children. It is characterized by children's intellectual curiosity and performance. Children would like to be recognized for producing things which will make them achieve some sense of industry. At this stage, encouragement is highly required of the caregiver, the teacher, and the parents. It is at this stage that the child tends to recognize and become industrious. Failure to attain the basic encouragement at this stage, the child will tend to have that feelings of inferiority among his peer group. Another thing is the stage of identity versus confusion, as the age between the ages of 12 to 18. This corresponds to the puberty, to the age of puberty and adolescence period of a child's life. It is the most delicate. It is the most delicate period, and the parents and the caregiver, the school, are supposed to understand the different physical, psychological changes taking place in the life of the child. And at this stage, it is characterized by child seeking for attainment of independence and becoming more concerned about what they will become in future. So at this stage, failure to allow this child to attain the much desired identity, it will eventually help negatively in ushering in confusion in the life of the said child. The next stage is that of intimacy versus isolation. It is characterized by adulthood. Adulthood starts from the years following adolescent period. It is characterized by continuous insistence on identity and eagerness to use it with others. The young adult seek to have an intimate relationship with his peer group and an opposite sex, and if they achieve the goals of this stage, they fare successfully. Otherwise, they become isolated. The next stage is that of generativity versus stagnation. That is middle age. This stage is essentially poised at establishing and guiding the next generation. Non-realization of the goal of this age results in stagnation and self-absorption. The last one, which is the old age stage, it is integrity versus despair, according to Erik Erickson. This is the end of the Erikson hierarchy of personality development. This stage is particularly concerned with integrity seeking. In other words, it is the stage of self-actualization. If you discovered at this stage that you've not done anything, despair and hatred tend to set in. Despair is the resultant consequence of failing to realize the goals of the previous stages. In summary, these are just the 8 stages of Erikson uh, personality development, and we hope to continue our lectures on developmental psychology when next we meet. Thanks for listening, and we pray you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for listening.